end.
I fiddled around a bit at the end. Great game, Mike. Who needs a team? One player does it all.
Thank you so much for your company. Look forward to seeing you next time on The Chase Australia.
Tonight, the coronavirus outbreak spreading. 6 new cases confirmed here. Sunday's MCG crowd linked to the latest infections, but the GP still has the green light. Also, 1 million Victorians set to pick up a $750 cash bonus in an emergency stimulus package as our stock market takes another major hit. Tom Hanks and his wife hit with coronavirus in quarantine in a Gold Coast hospital. Donald Trump bans European flights into the US in an airport lockdown as the NBA calls off all games. And 2 innocent people dead, 2 more wounded after a 90-minute stabbing rampage across 4 Melbourne suburbs. Special live coverage.
Live from our Melbourne headquarters, this is 7 News with Peter Mitchell.
Good evening. Victoria is dealing with 6 new coronavirus cases tonight, including one that traces back to the MCG and the massive crowd that attended the Women's Cricket World Cup final on Sunday. The new cases emerged as the Prime Minister unveiled a massive stimulus package, delivering one-off payments of $750 to 6.5 million Australians. Hollywood star Tom Hanks and his wife are being treated at a Gold Coast hospital after testing positive. The US has shut down all flights from Europe for at least 30 days, and the NBA has suspended all games indefinitely. At least 8 members of Formula One teams here for the Melbourne GP are now being tested, but the race is still scheduled to go ahead. Laurel Irving begins our coverage.
It was a record-breaking crowd, 86,000 people at the Women's T20 World Cup final. Now it's emerged one of them has coronavirus. Victoria's corona toll has now reached 27 and is continuing to rise. And what's alarming is their proximity to large crowds. One went to a rugby match at Amy Park. Another attended classes at La Trobe University. And Geelong's first case worked 2 shifts at the Warren Ponds Coles over the long weekend. 12 screening clinics for the virus are now open across Victoria. The state's call centre has now received more than 21,000 calls. And while the gates are officially open, this year's Melbourne Grand Prix is under extreme pressure. 8 team members will find out tonight if they have coronavirus. And it's not yet clear what will happen if they do.
If that does then have an impact on teams' abilities to participate, then it will be a decision for the Grand Prix.
But from a public safety point of view, the nation's health officers say the Grand Prix can go ahead because they can still trace exactly where every case came from.
Each country has different circumstances. Each state may have different circumstances, but they have not said that the grounds exist for changing their guidance on mass gatherings.
Some GPs have raised serious concerns about the Grand Prix going ahead, but racegoers appear undeterred.
Absolutely not. I'll leave that to the professionals. I just stayed away from people that were sneezing.
And other health professionals say our system is working.
I think this is the time we genuinely have to rely on experts rather than everyone making up their own mind about it.
All travel from Europe to Australia is now under review.
The Prime Minister has referred the question of all travel from Europe to the medical experts at the Australian Health Protection Principles Committee.
Melbourne Airport says its business is already down 4% for the year. And even though coronavirus has now been officially declared a pandemic, that may not provide much relief for affected travellers.
The pandemic, epidemic, disease, infectious disease can be found as an exclusion in many travel insurance policies.
The crisis may now affect Anzac Day. The RSL is now considering the very real possibility that for the first time it may have to stage the dawn service and the Anzac Day parade without crowds.
Just thinking about it, it's quite eerie.
And the panic buying has now spread to a discount toilet paper outlet where early morning queues extend around the corner.
Everything in Safeway, in Aldi, is all gone.
When you hear about it, you just do it. I know it's terrible. It's terrible. I can't believe I'm caught doing this.
And it's not necessary.
We're sending out stock every day and you only need 15 rolls a week, like for average household.
Sorbent is now moving to producing just one size packet to increase production even further. And Mitch, debate about the Grand Prix is still raging. Just in the past couple of hours, perhaps the world's most famous Formula One driver, Lewis Hamilton, has spoken with the media and said he's shocked and very, very surprised to even be here. He has deep concerns about this event going ahead. As well, the local federal MP for this area, Josh Burns, has this afternoon said he will not be coming to the Grand Prix this weekend, and he doesn't think any of his followers should either. So it's clear that while the chief health officers still say that large events like this are okay to go ahead, there remains deep disquiet in the community about that decision, Mitch.
Quite extraordinary. Thank you, Laurel. Laurel Irving at Albert Park. 1 million Victorians on Centrelink will receive the $750 stimulus cash bonus as part of the Morrison government package to head off a recession. The bailout will also deliver tax breaks to 3.5 million businesses.
A patriotic call for Australians to go out and spend for their country.
And this plan is about ensuring the Australian economy bounces back stronger.
Trying to prevent a virus-inspired recession, with a $17.6 billion cash splash to those who are likely to spend it most. $750 to 6.5 million Australians, including pensioners, New Start recipients and those on family tax benefits, arriving on March 31, costing $4.8 billion. No applications necessary. Those eligible will receive the payments direct from Centrelink.
The biggest beneficiaries of that will be pensioners.
That includes part pensioners and Commonwealth Seniors card holders.
But let's put it in perspective. It's a little bit more than $2 a day.
Each measure is temporary. Each measure is targeted.
And targeted primarily at protecting jobs as the coronavirus threatens Australian workplaces from tradies to top 100 companies.
Our policies are designed to get people into jobs, to get young people into jobs.
On top of the 50% wage subsidies for apprentices, investment incentives and tax breaks to protect cash flow. For all but the biggest businesses, the instant tax write-off is turbocharged, increased to $150,000. And for 690,000 small and medium-sized businesses employing about 7.8 million Australians, tax relief of between $2,000 and $25,000.
For the Australian economy to continue to move forward, businesses need to continue to go forward.
Though the business cash splash won't cover sole traders, 1.5 million of them mostly tradies, while casual workers who get the virus or have to self-isolate will get a sickness payment through Centrelink with no waiting period. Most of the money is front-end loaded, $11 billion of it going out the door in the next 3 months, all trying to prevent that recession. As for the promised surplus, that's now officially dead.
And Australians understand that. Australians know that this needs to be the priority, and our government agrees with that priority.
No longer back in black, now deep in the red.
And political editor Mark Riley joins us now from Canberra. Mark, will this be enough to avoid a recession?
Well, Mitch, that tonight is the $17.6 billion question. The government obviously hopes it is, and a very similar package released by Kevin Rudd and Wayne Swan as their first response to the global financial crisis certainly did have an impact, but what we know is it'll be short-lived, and no one knows just how long this virus will continue to hammer our economy. But if this doesn't work, then the government will release a second phase response in the May budget. The immediate objective, though, is to calm things down economically and people's anxiety levels. And that will be Scott Morrison's message tonight in a rare live address to the nation, which we'll broadcast here live on 7 straight after the news. Mitch?
Mark Riley in Canberra, thank you. And the stimulus package has done nothing to prevent another dark day on the share market. Network finance editor Gemma Acton is at the stock exchange this evening. Gemma, just how bad was it?
Oh, Peter, it was savage. The ASX 200 lost around $127 billion and had its lowest close since November 2016. Following a strong start to the year, Australian shares have now lost more than a quarter of their value since the record high that was reached just 3 weeks ago. While there was little reaction to the government's stimulus package, today's biggest falls came after the sharp tightening of restrictions on US travel. Qantas shares dropped by more than 10%, while Flight Centre dropped by more than 18%. Peter.
Gemma Acton at the ASX, thank you. Hollywood star Tom Hanks and his wife are being treated in a Gold Coast hospital after testing positive for coronavirus. Joel Dry has details. Joel, they're in isolation.
Peter, the married couple are indeed in isolation here at the Gold Coast University Hospital, and it's from here the Hollywood star sent his Instagram post out to the world confirming that he and his wife, Rita Wilson, have coronavirus. He said that over recent days the couple has felt a bit under the weather. They thought they had a cold with chills and aches, so they got checked out and had that test confirmed. Since being here in Australia, Hanks has been really busy both here on the Gold Coast. He's also been seen at Bondi Beach, where lots of people have been approaching him for a selfie and getting really up close and personal. His wife too has also had a full schedule. She's been singing at numerous events at multiple cities, so contact tracing for the pair will be a difficult process. The movie that Hanks is here to film is the Baz Luhrmann Elvis Presley biopic. Production on that has been suspended until further notice. Peter?
Thanks, Joel. Joel Dry reporting. Overseas, Donald Trump has banned flights from all European countries except the UK in sweeping measures to combat the dramatic spread of coronavirus in the US. The crackdown comes a day after President Trump called for calm. Now he's saying he can't delay any longer.
President Trump,
my fellow Americans,
addresses the nation with a plan to halt a runaway train.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
Just over 48 hours notice for passengers. The ban does not include the UK or trade and goods, and there will be exemptions for US citizens.
Older Americans should also avoid non-essential travel.
Financial stimulus is coming. Plans for low-interest loans, deferred tax payments and payroll tax relief.
The virus will not have a chance against us.
Doctors predict it could infect 150 million Americans. And there are concerns for the president's own health.
I am confident that by counting and continuing,
closures are moving fast. Team owners finding out mid-game the NBA season is suspended.
This seemed more like out of a movie than reality.
A Utah player tested positive. In Italy, the national address came via Facebook. Its Prime Minister now ordering all non-essential shops to shut down. Globally, it's a domino effect. Hungary in a state of emergency. Germany warning 70% of people could be infected. In Denmark, all schools are closed. Classrooms also shut in Peru. Canada, $1 billion plan to save the economy. And in Iran, their vice president now has the virus. Washington state banning anything with more than 250 people.
The penalties are you might be killing your granddad if you don't do it.
In the United States, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
Back home now, and a man flagged as a mental health risk has killed 2 innocent people and left 2 more injured in a rampage across 3 suburbs. We have special coverage coming up. Mike Amor is at Jolimont Station. Mike, that's where it all began.
Mitch, 4 people were knifed in 90 minutes of terror before police were forced to shoot and kill the attacker. The first act of violence happened here just after 10:30 last night. The 34-year-old confronted 2 PSOs. He stabbed one, slashing his face, before running off towards the MCG. Sadly, the worst was still to come.
He died in the street, leaving so many questions about the horrors he'd just inflicted on strangers.
A random act of senseless violence.
Police had no choice when he refused to surrender. Officers shouted at him.
Drop the knife, drop the knife, drop the knife. It's on your head. And then bang, 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 bang.
If we hadn't have taken that action, then I'd perhaps be standing here talking to you about some dead police people as well.
The 34-year-old from Roxburgh Park had stabbed 4 people in the street, killing 2 in a 90-minute frenzy that began last night at 10:40 as he asked 2 PSOs at Jolimont Station for directions. He repeatedly stabbed 1, then ran past the MCG to Richmond Station and caught a train to Glenferrie. He walked 2 kilometres to Hawthorn and stabbed 2 women just home from a night out. 1 died.
It's just a random, dreadfully wrong place at the wrong time.
40 minutes later, he struck again, stabbing a 59-year-old man out on his evening stroll. Police eventually cornered the attacker 2 blocks away on Walton Street and shot him dead after a short standoff.
Given what they already knew about this individual, they did muck about with him.
Police officers with a German Shepherd going down and jumping the fence and stalking the house and flashlights through the front door.
The PSO underwent surgery today. The surviving woman is in intensive care.
It's really scary because, you know, anyone could have been out there.
Incredibly, the attacker's final victim called police soon after he was stabbed, and despite his injuries gave police a description of the man who would claim his life.
He's worrying about the community more than himself in terms of making that call. He's worrying about what else this guy's going to do and who else he might harm. So I think it's a tremendously brave act.
Police left to explain how a PSO was slashed, and yet the offender got away, only to stab 3 others, killing 2.
Well, he's taken off on foot and then we've been trying to locate him and he's immediately jumped on that train.
The attacker who was shot in this driveway had no criminal history, but an ex-partner and child had an intervention order against him. And twice he'd walked into police stations to declare that ISIS operatives in Mildura were trying to kill him.
We are short of motivation at this time as to why he has done what he has done.
These sort of events leave a scar on our community.
And Paul Dowsley has new details on the deadly confrontation that ended the rampage. And Paul, it was the critical response team that found him.
Mike, it had been a major manhunt and eventually it was that highly trained specialist team that eventually located him. Initially, officers tried to use non-lethal means to stop him. One officer using beanbag rounds to try and stop him from advancing. But when he didn't stop, 2 other officers used rifles to fire live rounds. They then performed CPR on him in an attempt to save him, but he couldn't be revived. Then a search of his body revealed he was armed with 2 long-bladed kitchen knives and, Mike, a switchblade.
Paul Dowsley, thank you. Extra police are now patrolling the streets of Hawthorn. Let's bring in Jodie Lee. And Jodie, residents there are struggling to comprehend the brutal attack on 2 women.
Mike, this is one of Melbourne's most exclusive and affluent streets. It's also exceptionally quiet. But residents here tell me they lay awake in fear last night as Coppin Grove became a murder scene. Helicopters were circling above. The dog squad was jumping fences from yard to yard in their hunt for that knifeman. But today's sentiment has been different. Residents say they have been thinking non-stop about the young woman who tragically lost her life here and about her friend who remains in hospital.
I think everyone's shocked, and the people that we've spoken to, it's the same comment. How could this happen here? And, you know, wish her strength and courage.
Tonight, as she is treated by medical professionals at the Alfred Hospital, police are continuing to hunt for a motive for these senseless killings. Mike?
Jodie, thank you. There are so many questions still to be asked about a night of terror in Melbourne's east. Mitch?
Mike Amor at Jolimont, thank you. Georgia, thank you. It's been another day of drama for the NFL, and that extent of flight.
So, are we ready?
Hooch Perfect is fun for the entire family. Perfect too. You was family fun for everyone. Perfect. Tonight, 7:30 on 7.
New to the Ned's Punters Toolbox. Extra
Meaning. Big technology, the Sleepmaker.
This Saturday. Second place with Neds.
Our team
First, it's going to be us or
if he'll be released from prison. Decision.
In legal limbo, the High Court if they'll grant leave to appeal itself, but today
Jesse Dixon's killer had his crime as unspeakable, loathsome. Climate disruptions in the CBD have scored a victory. They've convinced a magistrate
be free to.
We'll be back! We'll be back! We'll be back!
Louisa Cheatley, 7 News.
An unexpected danger on Eastlink this afternoon when large metal sheets came flying off the back of a truck. Cars were forced to dodge the hazard. A truck on the other side of the freeway collided with another vehicle. It happened near the High Street Road interchange. Luckily, no one was hurt. Drag racing teenagers have survived a crash and were injured.
Isn't actually reaching the ground. It's a
safety investigation. Katy Perry brings joy after the Ashes.
Seven is counting down to the biggest start of the AFL season ever. 6 massive games.
Oh, it's good.
5 scorching hot AFL finalists.
You are a superstar!
Over 4 days and 3 nights across 2 great footy codes.
Oh, magnificent.
And it's all here on 7, your home of footy.
Always be here in my
It all kicks off with Richmond versus Carlton next Thursday on 7.
Cirque du Soleil has arrived into Melbourne with its newest creation, Curios, Cabinet of Curiosities. Now playing under the big top. Don't miss out. Book today.
Fancy face cream and sunnies, eBay. Exact same face cream and sunnies, heaps more expensive. Roz Cooper. Ripped off Roz.
I'm Roz Cooper.
On an Avalon River cruise, you can have things your way. Because Avalon is a come-as-you-are experience. It's a kick back and relax, or get out and explore experience. It's a do whatever you want to do on whatever schedule you want to do it on experience. Plus, with great limited time offers, it's a why on earth wouldn't you experience.
When life gives you, how did that get under theiriness? Godfrey's gives you cleanliness. Hoover Stick Vacuum $149, save $150. Ecovacs D-Bot 600, $349, save $50. Godfrey's cleanliness.
Just want to say to everyone else can get stuff because they think women aren't strong enough.
Wing spins a third, the greatest of all time. The champion becomes a legend. The Katy Perry has won it.
Gamble responsibly.
At Coles, you can rely on us for your corn chips and for fixing your chipped bumpers. With Coles Comprehensive Car Insurance, you get quality repairs you can trust. Search Little Red Quote today.
Not now.
Beat the price rise! Illusion's making way for new season gas log fires. We're clearing all current stock. Australian-made gas log fires from an amazing $24.99, save over $2,000. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Illusion, Dandenong, Epping and North Geelong.
A one-punch attacker who killed a heart surgeon at Box Hill Hospital is fighting to serve less jail time. Joseph Esmaili is serving 10 years for the punch that killed Dr Patrick Pritzvold-Stegman. His lawyer is arguing the father of two had clear warning the punch was coming. The surgeon had been arguing with his killer for smoking in the hospital foyer. Former Hey Dad star Robert Hughes has been refused parole after serving 6 years of an 11-year sentence for child sex offences. The disgraced actor has now renounced his Australian citizenship in a bid to be deported to the UK when he's eventually released.
Behind bars, he has remained defiant. Actor Robert Hughes continues to deny he molested underage cast members on the sitcom Hey Dad.
Why me? Is it something I did in the past life?
He served the 6-year minimum, but Hughes' hopes of a quick release were today dashed. His parole rejected.
At some point, you know you're guilty. Stop making us go through this. You did it to us as a kid. Stop making us live it again.
In a statement, the State Parole Authority said the SPA decided without structured post-release plans and parole supervision, Hughes presents an unacceptable risk to community safety. The SPA also refused to grant Hughes an automatic review of the decision. A dual British-Australian citizen, in December, Hughes renounced his Australian citizenship, meaning he could be deported upon release, not bound by any parole conditions. In a possible further complication, a recent change of policy by the British government means they can now refuse entry to people convicted of sex offences. Today, the British consulate was unable to tell us whether or not Hughes would be allowed back into Britain, where his wife and daughter live and where he was arrested in 2012. If his appeal to this decision fails, parole won't be reconsidered until next year. Brian Seymour, 7 News.
An investigation has been launched into a light plane crash that killed 5 men in far north Queensland. Investigators say the remoteness of the location, tides and dangerous crocodiles will prove challenging.
We will do our best to bring an ending to this for the families as soon as we possibly can.
The passengers had been working on a project to build an extension to the local school. Convicted rapist Harvey Weinstein is back in hospital tonight, just hours after being sentenced to 23 years in jail. He was rushed from his prison cell with chest pains, still claiming due process hasn't been served.
The women whose voices turned rumours into a reckoning today, celebrating.
No one thought we'd be here today. No one thought Harvey would ever see a courtroom.
Harvey Weinstein's victims sitting front row as he told the court he was remorseful but totally confused. In a wheelchair, begging for leniency, he got none. The 67-year-old will spend the next 23 years, likely the rest of his life, behind bars.
That sentence that was just handed down by this court was obscene. That number was obnoxious.
Convicted of raping Jessica Mann and sexually assaulting Mimi Haley.
It's been a really difficult process to go through, a very invasive process, but ultimately it's been very healing, and I had no idea how much hurt and pain I was actually still carrying.
And so a few blocks from where he used to run his movie empire, Harvey Weinstein's downfall is complete. From limousines to prison vans, from red carpets to roll call at a New York state jail.
We're going to fight. We're going to fight.
In New York, Paul Karak, 7 News.
Back home, there's been some much-needed cheer in Victoria's high country. Thousands partied with superstar Katy Perry at a concert to support fire-hit communities.
Katy Perry roared into the high country, appropriately dressed.
I'm interested in all things bright.
You look like you've done yourself up. Yeah, I got here and I was like, she's wearing the same colour as me, like, should I go home and change?
The pop star's 75-minute performance, a silver lining for fire-ravaged communities.
So hopefully today and this evening we are creating a new happy memory in Bright.
A town like many around Australia where businesses and tourism are still struggling, despite the mum-to-be's best efforts to help.
On the ice cream shop sign door it says, "Sorry, left early, had to get a good spot for Katy Perry." I was like, but what about my ice cream?
Even if you weren't one of the lucky 7,000 to get a ticket inside the arena, you still had a pretty good view from the fence.
I got the eye of the tiger,
because nothing happens in Brighton.
How cool is she? She was awesome!
I guess she inspired everyone and brought everyone together.
Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
How cool indeed. Last night we revealed one of Australia's most senior Catholics was being investigated for alleged sexual misconduct. Tonight we hear from a whistleblower priest who claims the Brooms diocese had become the devil's playground. That's next. Also the weapons used to create terror in a Geelong home invasion. Stuck in the mud, a 12-year-old boy rescued by fire crews. And as the clock ticks down to Tokyo 2020, the technical innovations that will transform the way you watch.
If he doesn't get in the All-Australian team this year on that sort of form, and I guarantee you, he'll replicate that form this year. If he doesn't get in the All-Australian team, the whole thing's a bloody joke.
This feels right.
Yep, it's good to be home. Don't touch the beer nuts.
The Front Bar, Wednesday, 8:30 on 7.
And welcome back to the Sportsbet Elite Average Games. Last chance for the Aussies, bombing for gold.
They need to pull something big out of their budgies here, JB.
Oh, silly salmon into a horsey! Massive!
I've never seen one in the wild, but that is splash tag ridiculous.
Scores are in, and they've done it!
Showers of gold.
A make-it-look-easy moment from Sportsbet.
Bread is a part of life, so why not make life poppier, crustier, pumpkinier, down to the very last crumb. Abbott's Village Bakery. Every bit better.
Invest with Latrobe Financial, Australia's multi-award-winning wealth manager, returning 4.9% on a 12-month investment. Make your money work harder for you. Call 138010.
Supported by the Victorian Government.
Hey, hon. Yeah? Oh, how funny. I'm in that aisle now.
Get your Woolies worth this week with great specials like half-price big brand cosmetics. Exclusions apply.
That's why I pick Woolies.
Wish you had internet that didn't let you down? That doesn't leave you hanging? And won't have you missing any of the action? Get Vodafone NBN. With 4G backup, you can power through interruptions, and unlimited data keeps the whole family going. Get Vodafone NBN from just $65 a month. The future is exciting. Ready?
Raise your game for round one of the NRL with the Eels vs Bulldogs this Thursday night. Apply your allocated double your winnings in your bet slip, and if your bet wins, we'll double your winnings in cash. Bet easy. Raise your game.
A gang of thugs are tonight on the run after a violent home invasion in Geelong. 6 young men used baseball bats to smash their way into a house and attack 3 victims. They fled in a white hatchback just after 3:30 this morning. 2 victims were taken to hospital. The offenders are all of African appearance. A whistleblower priest is breaking his silence tonight about the complaint that helped launch an 18-month police investigation into one of the country's most senior Catholics. The Bishop of Broome voluntarily stood down yesterday. The priest says his diocese became a devil's playground.
Father John Purnell has served the Broome Diocese for a decade, but believes he'll perform no greater service than this interview.
I'm standing by my convictions. That's why I'm a priest.
He's chosen to speak out following claims about the Bishop of Broome, Christopher Saunders, who stood aside yesterday after 7 News revealed he was under investigation on sex crime allegations.
I'm getting emotional a bit, but they deserve more. okay? The Aboriginal people in the Kimberley, those young men deserve more, and the church must get its act together and fix it.
Father John knows his career and calling are at risk.
I could be stood down, removed, sacked. I could lose my priesthood.
Father John is one of 4 interviewed by police in their ongoing inquiry. 2 alleged sexual assault, both young Aboriginal men.
Oh, that's extraordinary. Listen, let me say, without any doubt whatsoever, without any reservation, that has never happened.
It was Father John who took the first complainant to police 18 months ago.
He was an emotional wreck. He was crying, he was vomiting all night, he was in a terrible state.
13 months later, a second complainant came to him. Father John first took his concerns to the Catholic Church Professional Standards Office, then to the Perth Archbishop, and finally to the Pope's own representative here in Australia. He was astounded when nothing was done. The church said it couldn't stand the bishop aside because the police inquiry was active.
At first I was horrified, I was angry, I was hurt, and I felt betrayed.
The Vatican intervened only after 7 News announced it would broadcast last night, but for months, not even a reply.
Pope's representative in this country, what have you heard back from him?
Nothing.
Just last week, Bishop Saunders was sent a please explain by the church over concerns he was drinking with young Aboriginal men. On Saturday, we witnessed the bishop visiting 2 bottle shops and buying a slab of Jack Daniels with a young Aboriginal man, then an esky and then ice.
And is it true that the professional standards has contacted you in the last week about supplying alcohol to young Aboriginal men?
I don't know anything about the stuff you're talking about.
The Diocese of Broome, with this bishop, has become the devil's playground.
In Broome, Chris Reason, 7 News.
Firefighters rushed to save a boy trapped in mud in New York State. Officials say it became more like quicksand when the 12-year-old fell in. He'd been walking across the drained pond with his dad when he was sucked into the sludge. After a few attempts, firefighters managed to free him. In just a few hours' time, the Olympic flame will be lit in Greece. Europe correspondent Sarah Greenhalgh is there, but it's hardly business as usual.
It's being held without spectators for the first time in more than 35 years due to coronavirus fears. Less than 100 officials are being given access, including the IOC president, who is adamant the Games will go ahead as planned. But with so many sporting events succumbing to this virus and the situation changing so rapidly, everyone here is asking, how can they? A Tokyo executive board member suggested a 2-year postponement. That idea was slammed by bosses as inconceivable. The theme of the torch relay is Hope Lights Our Way, and there is a lot of people now just hoping the Games happen with 134 days to go.
And Channel 7's Olympic team has been revealed, and it includes iconic broadcasters and legends of sport. And for the first time this year, groundbreaking technology will headline 7's Games coverage.
134 days out from the opening ceremony, the launch of 7's coverage team. Front and centre, Bruce McAvaney for his 11th Olympic Games.
I'm thinking there's every chance that we can, if we're not doubling our gold medal total from Rio, that we're getting close to 13 or 14 gold medals.
There are especially high hopes this time around for our women's contingent.
We've had plenty of Aussie female superstars in the past, of course, at Olympic Games and plenty of gold medals, but I think this one's going to be something special.
Gold medal chances in surfing with Steph Gilmore, tennis, our own Ash Barty, and a superstar in the making, teenager Ariane Titmus.
I mean, so much is about her and her excellence and the fact that she's the world champion, but it's also about who she has to beat. She has to climb Everest by beating Katie Ledecky, who's already got 5 Olympic gold medals.
Among familiar faces, some new ones too. Ian Thorpe will be poolside and Amir's trackside. For the first time this year, 33 dedicated channels running 24 hours a day, streaming in 4K. Coverage begins July 24. Cameron Price, 7 News.
And Tim Watson's next with sport. Tim, the AFL's bracing for the possibility that round 1 might have to be postponed.
That's right, Mitch. It's a changing landscape. Up next, we're live to the Players' Season launch for the very latest on new protocols to cope with coronavirus. Plus, the eye-opening revelation from American Pie Mason Cox. Steve Smith in line for a big promotion as the Aussies prepare to take on the Kiwis. And lights, camera, action. The Matildas bound for the Olympics.
Marco, what are you doing here?
Would you forgive your brother if he tried to steal your wife?
You're not welcome here.
Last thing I want to do, Ben, there's something I wanted to tell you for the past 20 years. Just tell Ben that we slept together.
Home and Away, next on 7.
The King Living anniversary sale is on now, celebrating over 40 years of Australian design with the iconic Delta sofa from $1,790. Visit King Living today.
On a brekkie run?
How did you know?
Get your Woolies worth on great specials this week, like Kellogg's Nutri-Grain 805 grams, just $4.25 each. That's half price.
That's why I pick Woolies.
Have you discovered Naturopathica's vegan vitamins? 100% certified by Vegan Australia, Naturopathica's vegan range is expertly formulated, so they're kind to your health. Free from any animal products, so they're kinder to our friends. And by using recyclable packaging, they're kinder to our planet. For your health and your family's well-being, Naturopathica vegan vitamins are a cleaner, greener choice. Live clean, live green.
Join any combined hospital and extras cover online with NIB and we'll waive the 2 and 6 month wait on extras. Plus, join by March 31 and get 1 month free. Reclaim your health with NIB today.
Is So Good almond milk the better milk for you? It's dairy-free and full of calcium. So Good almond milk is packed with vitamins, and unsweetened varieties have no added sugar. Feel good inside and out and make today so good.
Don't let this great offer pass you by. Get 6 bet returns this Saturday to use on any track, any race. So if your horse runs second or third, get your bet returned in bonus bets. Bet easy. Raise your game.
Ugh, moving house. Get power on next business day when you move with Origin. Call 13MOVE or search Origin Moves. Phew.
Got your sports bag?
Parents have a lot on their to-do list. That's why the Victorian Government is making it easier for our kids to get the dental care they need. That means an annual checkup and comprehensive dental treatment for free. We call it Smile Squad, and we'll be rolling out to every primary and secondary government school between now and 2022. That's another thing you can check off your to-do list. Visit smilesquad.vic.gov.au. Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
Paradise at your place. Transform any space into an oasis.
You won't believe what's possible.
On New Better Homes, Friday on 7.
Welcome back. The sporting world is coming to grips with how it handles the coronavirus pandemic. The NBA has suspended its season while AFL clubs here are separating players from staff. Chief football reporter Mark Stevens is at the Players Association launch. And Steve-O, the AFL is considering every possibility, including delaying round 1.
That's right, Tim. There's no guarantee we will have footy in round 1. At this stage, it's a yes, but very much a movable feast. The players are waiting advice from above. We're only 7 days away from the first bounce. This is a new world. We've just done an interview inside with a 2-metre exclusion zone. Interaction between media and players will be limited. The umpires are now training individually and alone, so no group training. Melbourne has moved from Amy Park and Gosh's paddock to Casey Fields in Cranbourne, the Holden Centre in Collingwood in lockdown. Now, the AFLPA has just spoken, and I asked the President, Patrick Dangerfield, if he expected to play in round 1.
Yeah, I am, Steve. At this stage, how that looks and if that's in front of fans, we're not sure. You know, the game and everything at the moment is evolving very, very quickly, but at the moment we're planning for business as usual.
We're working through every scenario that we can think of and they can think of at the moment. So, you know, because a lot of this is going to be government-led in terms of where we go with all this, I think we need to see where that takes us.
Now, Danger has been re-elected as AFLPA president, but will he get to play much footy? We'll have to wait and see, Tim.
Thanks, Steve-O. Star Pie Mason Cox has revealed the extent of an eye injury which threatened his career. Cox has undergone 3 bouts of surgery and will wear special tinted contact lenses in next week's round 1 clash with the Bulldogs.
Mason Cox is lucky to be starting the 2020 season with 2020 vision. Almost.
It's a pretty serious and gruesome injury.
7 months ago, Cox suffered a detached retina when he was poked in the eye by Peter Wright. Surgeons repaired that eye, but discovered his right eye was also damaged.
Half the retina had torn off, so we had to reattach the whole thing pretty much. So that was pretty full on. And then the other one was more of just putting a band over it, pretty much essentially blind for about 2 weeks.
For a fortnight, Cox spent 45 minutes of every hour staring at the ceiling in a dark room. He couldn't see his phone, let alone watch his team play finals.
Whenever we played Geelong, all stripes looked the same. So it was frustrating.
He's now super sensitive to bright light.
Whenever I tried to mark a football, there was essentially it was too much glare, so I had to wear sunglasses, which you can't really train with sunglasses.
But Cox and his doctors have fixed the problem.
We've got these unique contacts that are actually sunglasses tinted within a contact that I have to wear for training and everything else. So there's been a few kind of changes we've had to do throughout the whole process to try to find what works best, but hopefully we've got there.
He'll wear them under lights against the Dogs in their season opener.
He may not know much about racing, but with the footy still a week away, Mason Cox will be trackside at Caulfield on Saturday for the $5 million All-Star Mile.
And he'll be barracking for Mr. Quickie.
I don't know if I'll be riding him by any means, but yeah, I've never really found a horse to fit me yet.
Sean Sowerby, 7 News.
Action is underway at Albert Park despite the coronavirus threat. The F1s hit the track tomorrow, but today it was the supercars' turn. Jamie Whincup qualified fastest for race 2. Red Bull teammate Shane Van Gisbergen will be on pole in race 3. And while it's not all going to plan, nothing was going to stop music megastar Robbie Williams from coming to Melbourne.
I've been looking forward to this for 2 to 3 months. And obviously with everything that's going on in the world, there are other countries that I'd be like, nah, I can't be bothered. But it's Australia, so I've got to come.
Williams performs after qualifying on Saturday. Justin Langer has fuelled speculation Steve Smith will be promoted to vice-captain when his leadership ban ends at the end of the month.
There'll be lots of talk. We're really clear behind closed doors what's our vision for that is. So we'll just keep working through that.
The Aussies take on New Zealand in the opening one day at the SCG tomorrow night. The Matildas have booked their spot at the Tokyo Olympics after beating Vietnam in front of an empty stadium. The qualifiers started in bizarre fashion when the lights went off in the opening seconds. When they came back on, Sam Kerr starred.
Sam Kerr delivers, scores the opening goal again, and Australia, they can start getting the boarding passes ready for Tokyo 2020.
The Matildas won 2-1, sealing their place in Tokyo with a 7-1 aggregate win. Liverpool is out of the Champions League after conceding 3 extra-time goals against Atletico Madrid.
Llorente, he scored! And Liverpool need 2 more. Liverpool must score again. Adrian with a terrible clearance, didn't recover.
The reigning champs lost 4-2 on aggregate, while PSG beat Dortmund in front of an empty stadium to reach the quarter-finals. That's going to be a weird feeling for all those players out there. Miss that sport.
Empty stadiums. Thank you, Tim. Jane is next with the forecast. Jane, what can we expect to end the week?
Well, Mitch, it's another warm one, but it ends with a stormy cold change. The details are next.
Hello, I'm Michael Usher. Here's what's coming up tonight on the latest from 7 News across Victoria.
A sharp spike in coronavirus cases, growing fallout from Tom Hanks' Australian diagnosis. Shares and super take another hit. Will cash handouts help? And how to best handle outbreak anxiety. That's the latest tonight, 10:35.
Marco, what are you doing here?
Would you forgive your brother if he tried to steal your wife?
You're not welcome here.
Last thing I want to do, Ben, there's something I wanted to tell you for the past 20 years. Just tell Ben that we slept together.
Home and Away, next on 7.
It's Tab's 42 Days of Deals venue special. At Rose Hill and Caulfield this Saturday on all races, if your horse runs 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th, get a bonus bet back up to $50. It's only at your local.
Gamble responsibly.
Aldi's butterfly chicken is deboned, pre-marinated and now only $9.99 a kilo. any more convenient and we'd have to teleport it to your oven. Go check your oven. Aldi. Good. Different.
Oh, we're right up by Ship Creek. No, Ship Creek. Ship.
Up Ship Creek? Get Amy Roadside Assist free for a year with new Amy Comprehensive Car Insurance before July 10.
You're with Amy.
You've got a lot of living to do in retirement. Are you confident you can pay for it? Add a Challenger lifetime annuity to your retirement income and you'll enjoy guaranteed income for life, helping to cover your living costs. It complements other income sources like your super and the age pension. So like thousands of other retirees, you too can look forward with confidence. Find out more at challenger.com.au.
Gloss black grille, 19-inch black alloy wheels, panoramic sunroof, and more. New Sorrento Black Edition, from $48,990 drive away.
The spirited traveler craves the unique and unexplored. Curious? Then come aboard Spirit of Tasmania. Be a spirited traveler.
Prescription medicines can provide essential relief, but some are addictive. That's why the Victorian Government is introducing a new system to help you stay on the safe side. Speak to your doctor or pharmacist or search SafeScript. Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
The Royal Melbourne Hospital Home Lottery is giving away 6 Land Rovers just for getting in early. Plus, your tickets stay in the draw for the incredible grand prize. You could be living the dream mortgage-free in a fully furnished Matsé home in Brighton East. With over 14,000 prizes up for grabs, your chances of winning are 1 in 15. Don't miss out. Get your tickets by midnight tomorrow. Proceeds support patient care and research at the Royal Melbourne.
You could be filling up for free. Every Friday, we're giving away a $5,000 fuel gift card. Fuel your Friday on Sunrise.
Hello again. This is our second warm day in a row and we still have one more to go. Both our days and nights are warm. It didn't drop below 16.7 overnight and we reached 29.5. All suburbs were in double figures to start. Scoresby was as high as 19. Then it reached the high 20s to low 30s and the Surf Coast was one of the highest thanks to a northerly wind. There was a line of rain and thunderstorms over southwestern Victoria early, but they dissipated. Then we had a bit of wispy high cloud and cumulus cloud over the far west. That type of cloud is able to bring showers and thunderstorms. These warm temperatures are thanks to a high that is out to our east, bringing us northerly winds. The cumulus cloud pops up ahead of a trough line that is back to our west, but it is a cold front that will be having the most effect. Now that front moves through, there it goes, during the day tomorrow as a cyclone forms off far north Queensland. That should move away from the coast. Tomorrow's rain should be a lot more than we saw today. Rain and thunderstorms spreading across southern and eastern parts of the state, clearing eastwards on Saturday. It comes with a gusty cool change. So we go from warm yellows and reds to cool greens and blues. The cooler air is likely to hit Melbourne about 4 p.m. on Friday and then persist for the weekend. But it warms up again next week as that high moves out to our east. Northerly winds and warm sunshine will return. Around the nation tomorrow, Brisbane has showers likely just a few millimetres though. Sydney and Canberra, sunny at 26. Hobart top at 23, but showers are likely with a cold change. Cold enough that there is snow on the mountain at night. Adelaide mild and breezy tomorrow, an early shower, then mostly cloudy. Perth's hot and dry spell ends later tomorrow with rain developing. To Victoria, warm to hot in gusty northerly winds. But when the front arrives, there is a cold wind change with rain and the risk of heavy and gusty thunderstorms. Mostly dry in the northwest, though, with raised dust. Closer in, and it is warm and windy tomorrow. Sunny, yes, before cloud builds and a cold change arrives with the risk of gusty storms and heavy rain. That will finally ease back later on at night. But the city starts on 19, it reaches 29, then a sharp cold change about 4 p.m. So by 6 p.m, only 16 degrees, then 15. It is a cold Friday night. To the 8-day outlook, it is cool on Saturday, a top of only 18. And it is mostly cloudy, but it should be dry. Now, the next high is moving in quickly. So Sunday's Grand Prix now held under mostly sunny skies, top of 21. We warm up again next week at 29 for Wednesday and on Thursday. So the first round of footy could be a warm one before a late cool change. So then Friday, perhaps a bit of rain there. So we are warm and windy, 29 tomorrow. But the cold change hits around 4 p.m. We do have the risk of a big storm. Mitch.
Thanks, Jane. 7 News isn't over yet. We're crossing live to Sydney now, where the Prime Minister will address the nation about the coronavirus pandemic. Let's cross there now.
Good evening, Australia. Tonight, I want to talk to you about the global coronavirus, what it means for you and your family, and what the government is doing to see Australia through. This virus began in China and has now reached some 114 countries. More than 224,000 people have contracted the virus, including 140 here in Australia. The medical experts tell us that for most Australians in good health who contract the virus, they will experience a mild illness. That said, this virus is also highly transmissible, and for those Australians whose health is more vulnerable, especially the elderly, the risk is more severe. While this is a global health crisis, there are very real and significant economic impacts. For all of these reasons, we have been taking the coronavirus very seriously. I want to assure you and your family tonight that while Australia cannot and is not immune from this virus, we are well prepared and we are well equipped to deal with it, and we do have a clear plan to see Australia through. Our plan has 3 goals. 1, protect Australians' health. 2, secure Australians' jobs and livelihoods. And 3, set Australia up to bounce back stronger when the crisis is over. Firstly, to protect Australians. We were one of the first countries to recognise the seriousness of the coronavirus. We quickly established travel bans from the most affected countries and scaled up our screening and protection on our borders. We evacuated Australians from virus hotspots and set up quarantine facilities. And we have funded a $2.4 billion National Health Response Plan to set up more than 100 pop-up clinics and to provide extra support for aged care facilities, increase funding for public hospitals, and boost our national medical stockpile for essential medicines and masks. Secondly, to keep Australians in jobs and businesses in business, we have today announced a $17.6 billion economic stimulus plan. We're subsidising half the wages of 117,000 apprentices in small businesses. We're providing one-off $750 payments to more than 6 million Australians to spend in our economy now. Almost 2.5 million pensioners will receive this support. There's direct cash support of up to $25,000 for small and medium-sized businesses that employ over 7 million Australians to boost their cash flow. And we're backing businesses to keep investing by increasing tax incentives to help them buy new equipment now. And thirdly, once the virus has run its course, we are making sure Australia can bounce back strongly. For the most affected regions and industries, like tourism and Upper North Queensland, there is a special $1 billion fund to support targeted local recovery plans. And as our economy bounces back, which it will, so will our budget, because we have not loaded up spending off into the future. We can take this action now because we have worked hard to bring the budget back into balance, to maintain our AAA credit rating, and work with the state governments to provide a world-class health system. Now, I know many Australians are anxious about this, and we do still have a long way to go. But be assured, we are taking action, and we have a clear plan. The months ahead will present many challenges, but we will respond to them. We will continue to keep you updated and take decisions based on the best possible medical advice. And if you have any questions, please visit health.gov.au or talk to your local GP. We'll get through this together, Australia. We all have a role to play: employers, nurses, doctors, teachers, scientists, friends, family and neighbours. I know we'll all do our bit. Thank you for listening tonight, and good night, Australia.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison there with a live address to the nation, trying to assure Australians that his government has the coronavirus challenge under control. His main message: don't panic, but be prepared, advising Australians to take precautions to protect their own health and those of others without changing their fundamental way of life. Mr Morrison says his government is taking all possible measures at its disposal to protect Australians' health and well-being and their jobs, an important message as the financial cost of this crisis mounts and Australians' nest eggs are hammered in the biggest stock market plunge in more than a decade. The surplus and that back in black boast have now officially gone, and the prospect of Australia falling into its first recession in almost 30 years is a very real challenge. There's one challenge, though, that Scott Morrison didn't mention tonight, and that's his own personal challenge. It is moments like these that make and break Prime Ministers, times when the nation looks to them for true leadership and a clear path to see us through a period of deep uncertainty, a time when the nation asks its leader to run towards the challenge and not walk away. This is, without doubt, that time, that moment for Scott Morrison. The coming months will tell how he fares. But now, on a big news day here in Canberra, it's back to you in the newsroom.
Thanks, Mark. Mark Riley in Canberra. And that's the way it is this Thursday, the 12th of March. Thanks for your company. We'll have updates later. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.
Doesn't that